My fiancée delivered the news with chilling detachment. I'm relocating to live with Anthony. We are expecting a child together. My response was a succinct, flat, congratulations. Without hesitation, I immediately invalidated the engagement ring's purchase, arranged for the retrieval of her vehicle, and systematically altered every single digital password. Just 6 hours later, she was standing on my doorstep, sobbing uncontrollably, having been unceremoniously thrown out by Anthony. I, a 36-year-old male, am documenting this unbelievable series of events from my kitchen counter, gazing at a half-finished cup of coffee and struggling to comprehend the sheer velocity with which one's entire prospective future can shatter. It was a seemingly ordinary Thursday afternoon, around 1400 hours, when my mobile device rang. The caller was Sarah, 31F, my betrothed of 8 months. Our relationship had spanned 3 years, and we had been cohabiting in my residence for the last 18 months. The conversation was short, brutal, and strangely devoid of genuine emotion. David, I must impart something significant to you. I am making arrangements to move in with Anthony. We are going to raise a baby together. I will be collecting my personal effects this evening. Anthony, a 29-year-old individual, was her personal fitness instructor, the man she had been devoting herself to working out with religiously for the preceding 4 months. I had, with a foolish sense of benevolence, even covered the costs for these sessions, believing I was providing steadfast support. My cognitive processes momentarily stalled. The gravity of her words did not register instantly. Congratulations, I uttered, the phrase devoid of any inflection, delivered as if I were merely confirming a reservation at an eatery. That's all you have to say? What else remains to be articulated? She demanded. You have already rendered your decision. I had a notion you might put up a struggle for me or something, she countered. You are carrying another man's child and preparing to live with him, Sarah. There is nothing left to contend for. I then terminated the call. The most bizarre sensation was the profound serenity that enveloped me, an almost detached observation, as though I was witnessing the catastrophic failure of someone else's existence. Yet, beneath that superficial calm, my mind was already executing a predetermined strategy. First item of business, the token of our commitment. I contacted the upscale jewelry establishment where I had procured the ring just 6 weeks prior, and laid out the predicament. The manager expressed his sympathy, confirming their 60-day satisfaction guarantee for such unforeseen circumstances, contingent upon a modest inventory replenishment fee. I immediately drove to the location, returned the diamond setting, and successfully recovered $11,000 of the $12,000 I had originally expended. Next on the agenda, the automobile. Sarah drove a leased BMW, for which I had co-signed the agreement about 10 months earlier. The monthly installments were automatically withdrawn from my bank account. I accessed the leasing company's proprietary web portal, eliminated my payment source, and subsequently called them directly, clearly stating my intent to withdraw my guarantee as the surety with immediate effect. They informed me she would now be obligated to independently qualify based on her personal earnings or relinquish the vehicle before the month's conclusion. Her personal fitness coaching earnings were highly unlikely to meet the financial threshold. I then returned to my dwelling and commenced the widespread modification of every access point. The Wi-Fi network password was revised. Netflix, Disney+, and all subsequent media streaming subscriptions, all devices were logged out, and new passwords were established. The home security system's authorization code was modified. Her gym membership, which I had been subsidizing, was terminated. I contacted the financial institution that issued the credit card on which she was an authorized secondary user and had her privileges revoked instantly. The entire, meticulous process occupied approximately 3 hours. It was clinical and highly effective. By 1700 hours, I was seated comfortably in my living room, all perimeters secured, awaiting the inevitable follow-up. At 1830 hours, the doorbell chimed. I scrutinized the image on the security camera display. It was Sarah, her countenance tear-streaked, mascara blurring, clutching 2 travel cases. I opened the entrance, leaving the safety chain secured. David, I implore you. We must communicate. Anthony ejected me from his premises. Why would Anthony expel his pregnant partner? I inquired. It's exceedingly intricate. He stated he requires a period of contemplation to digest the entirety of the situation. He was not prepared for my immediate occupancy. The level of self-absorption was truly astonishing. She had unilaterally destroyed our shared existence, fully anticipating that Anthony would effortlessly assume the role of her provider. When that failed spectacularly, she was right back at my threshold. That sounds like a complication belonging to Anthony, not a complication belonging to David, I asserted. You cannot simply sever all ties with me like this. I can no longer access any of the online accounts. The vehicle payment was declined. My fitness club membership is defunct. You declared your intention to reside with Anthony. These are Anthony's responsibilities now, I replied, unyielding. Please, just for this evening, until I can formulate a plan. No, Sarah. You executed your choice this morning. You selected Anthony and his impending child over the life we had established together. I am honoring that very choice. Her expression morphed from desperation to intense anger to pure panic. This is certifiably insane. You are punishing me for having the courage to be truthful with you. I am not inflicting any punitive measure on you. I am merely accepting the reality of your decision. You expressed a desire for a different path alongside Anthony. Go construct that life. But I have no place of refuge, she pleaded. You have Anthony, you have family, you have friends. Determine a solution. I closed the door firmly and engaged the deadbolt mechanism. She battered the door surface for approximately 10 minutes, weeping and shouting, before finally departing. The ensuing silence was surprisingly tranquil. Update 1, the predictable fallout. It has been 48 hours since Sarah's stunning proclamation, and the ensuing repercussions have been wholly expected. Thursday evening, subsequent to her leaving my doorstep, I received a relentless barrage of text messages originating from various unknown telephone numbers. Evidently, she was borrowing communication devices, as I had previously blocked her primary number. David, please. I committed a colossal error. Anthony is not the individual I believed him to be. I am currently lodged in a modest motel. I cannot sustain this expense. Kindly just speak with me. I captured screenshots of every message but offered no reply. Friday morning, her sister, Jessica, telephoned my professional number. David, what in the name of sanity is wrong with you? Sarah is absolutely devastated. She is effectively destitute. Sarah proclaimed her intention to cohabit with Anthony and have his baby. I respected her agency in that decision. She made a regrettable error. Anthony proved to be utterly despicable. He essentially exploited her and then cast her aside. That is indeed regrettable, but it is not a dilemma I am obligated to resolve. She requires assistance. She has nowhere to go. She possesses a family network. She maintains friendships. She has Anthony, who is the biological father of her unborn child. Anthony wishes to have zero association with her now. Once more, this is not a concern for me. She selected him over me. You are exhibiting egregious cruelty. I am simply being pragmatic. She unilaterally dissolved our partnership to pursue another individual. I am not functioning as a contingency plan. I disconnected the line and permanently barred that number as well. Friday afternoon brought a communication from Sarah's mother, a truly delightful interlude. David, I am mortified by your conduct. Sarah is expecting a baby, and you discarded her like refuse. Linda. Sarah declared she was abandoning me for another man and carrying his child. I did not expel her. She voluntarily departed. But she has reconsidered. She recognized her folly. She recognized that Anthony was not going to financially sustain her in the manner that I did. That is not a change of heart, that is confronting the inevitable repercussions. She is in need of stability at this moment. She is with child. Anthony's child. Anthony's obligation. You are devoid of compassion. I am exercising realism. Your daughter made a choice. I am upholding that choice. The most satisfying discovery? I learned through a mutual acquaintance that Anthony did more than merely evict Sarah. He is, in fact, legally married. Has been the entire duration. His spouse discovered the illicit relationship and the pregnancy. Anthony instantly severed all communication with Sarah in a desperate attempt to salvage his marital union. Consequently, Sarah did not just forfeit her fiancé and the comfortable lifestyle I provided. She also lost her illicit lover. And she is currently pregnant with a married man's baby who desires no involvement with her. The blows continue to land. I received a call from the BMW dealership today. Sarah had evidently visited them, attempting to rationalize the circumstances, optimistically hoping they would offer a flexible arrangement. They reiterated precisely what I already knew. Without a creditworthy cosigner, she does not meet the eligibility criteria for the lease. She has until the close of the month to return the automobile or face the involuntary repossession process. She has been disseminating ambiguous pronouncements on various social media platforms regarding discovering people's true nature and insincere affection. A select number of shared friends have inquired about the rupture. I provide them with the unvarnished truth: she forsook me for someone else. It did not achieve the desired result, and now she is managing the fallout. Most individuals grasp the situation. Those who do not were never truly my genuine friends anyway. I spent the weekend systematically removing the last remnants of her possessions from the house. Items she neglected to retrieve during her hasty departure on Thursday night. I carefully placed everything into containers and labeled them distinctly. Should she desire the return of these belongings, she can make arrangements for their collection. I will not be delivering anything. The atmosphere of the house feels noticeably altered now. More subdued, but in a positive way. No more walking on eggshells, apprehensive about her communication with Anthony. No more subsidizing fitness instruction with her paramour. No more underwriting a standard of living for someone who was actively plotting to abandon me for a different man. Update 2, the entitlement reaches its zenith. 1 week has transpired since the fateful telephone conversation that irrevocably changed everything. The degree of presumption has escalated to unprecedented levels. Monday morning, I was served with an actual letter, not an electronic message, not a quick text, but a physical, certified document from Sarah. She had arranged for its delivery to my professional address. The missive consisted of 3 pages of dramatically handwritten prose detailing how I had abandoned her during her moment of acute vulnerability and how she never intended for events to unfold in this manner. The most preposterous element was the concluding paragraph, wherein she demanded I compensate her for her temporary hotel accommodations until she could regain her stability and proposed we attend couples counseling to address this perceived betrayal. The betrayal, she claimed. She engaged in infidelity, conceived a child with another individual, announced her departure to be with him, and I betrayed her by not financially supporting her life choices afterward. I presented the document to my lawyer friend, Tom, during our lunch meeting. He erupted in laughter so vigorously he nearly choked on his meal. She expects you to settle her financial obligations after she left you for another partner, and she calls that your failure? He mused. Apparently, I am expected to be her lifelong financial safety net. Retain this letter, Tom advised. If she chooses to escalate the situation, this clearly demonstrates her skewed perspective. Tuesday saw the financial realities begin to truly bite. I received a notification from my banking institution. Sarah had attempted to utilize the credit card I had previously cancelled. Multiple attempts were made at various retail establishments. The bank system flagged the activity as potential fraudulent use until I provided the necessary clarification. I contacted the credit card issuer, verified her removal as an authorized user, and requested they formally document that any subsequent attempts to use the card were unauthorized acts. Wednesday brought the inevitable family confrontation. Sarah's parents appeared at my residence without prior warning. I observed them through my security camera feed for a few minutes before granting them audience. Linda, David, we need to engage in a discussion. Sarah's father, Mike, appeared uneasy but resolute. Son, Sarah committed an error, but you cannot simply isolate her entirely. Mike, she did not commit a mere error. She made a calculated determination to abandon me for another individual. The subsequent failure of that endeavor does not transfer the burden of responsibility to me. She is with child. She requires provision. Anthony's baby. Anthony's provision, or yours, not mine. Anthony is a married man. He was deceiving her. That is something she ought to have ascertained before engaging in an affair with him behind my back. Look, we acknowledge her missteps, but there's no but, Mike. She made her selection. I am upholding that selection. She has made mature, adult decisions. These are the corresponding adult consequences. They persisted for another 20 minutes, cyclically deploying emotional manipulation, logical appeals, and finally, subtle threats about doing what is morally correct. I maintained my composure, adhered strictly to the verifiable facts, and they eventually conceded defeat and left. Thursday marked the nadir of her desperation. Sarah materialized at my fitness center, the facility I still frequent, not the opulent establishment where she encountered Anthony. She cornered me near the free weights apparatus. David, please just grant me 5 minutes of your undivided attention. You have 3 minutes. The time starts now. I fully acknowledge my mistake. I know I inflicted pain upon you, but I am pregnant and utterly terrified, and I am completely lost. 2 minutes remaining. Anthony misled me about everything. He is married. He never possessed the intention of leaving his spouse. He simply desired an extramarital dalliance. I was so incredibly naive. 1 minute. I miss your presence. I miss what we shared. I know we can navigate this if you would just allow me a second opportunity. Time is expired, Sarah. You did not make a mistake. You made a choice. You chose to be unfaithful with Anthony. You chose to become pregnant by him. You chose to leave me for him. The fact that he turned out to be exactly what every person except you could plainly perceive does not alter any of those fundamental facts. But I harbor affection for you, she exclaimed. No, you harbor affection for what I provided. Stability, financial security, a person to care for your needs. Anthony offered excitement and novelty until the harsh light of reality intervened. Now you want your safeguard restored. That is categorically untrue. You announced you were carrying another man's baby and planning to move in with him. Every action I undertook thereafter was merely acknowledging that new reality. If Anthony had lived up to your expectations, you would be joyfully setting up a household with him right now. I collected my gym towel and proceeded toward the exit. Locate a different fitness facility, Sarah. This one remains mine. I received a message later that same evening from Jessica. You are a cold-hearted scoundrel. Sarah is sleeping inside her vehicle. My retort was direct. She selected Anthony. These are the repercussions Anthony must manage. I then permanently blocked Jessica's number. Final update, justice served cold. It has been 3 full months since Sarah announced her abandonment of me for Anthony. Time to put the finishing touches on this unpleasant saga. The immediate period following my last entry witnessed a rapid deterioration of Sarah's situation. It quickly became apparent that sleeping inside a luxury vehicle you cannot afford while in the advanced stages of pregnancy is not a viable long-term strategy. Her tenure in the BMW lasted roughly a week before the automobile was repossessed. I drove past the impound lot where they had towed it, observing it sitting forlornly with the original dealership plates affixed once more. Her parents finally intervened, to a limited degree. They permitted her return to her former childhood bedroom, but from the accounts I have received through mutual friends, the arrangement has been nothing short of disastrous. Sarah had anticipated they would provide the equivalent standard of living I had maintained, restaurant dining, frequent shopping excursions, an ample budget for leisure. Instead, she was met with only basic room and board and constant lectures regarding personal accountability. The pregnancy itself introduced further complexity. Anthony, in his zealous pursuit to preserve his marriage, allegedly convinced his wife that Sarah was fabricating the paternity. He insisted upon a prenatal DNA test. Sarah acquiesced, likely holding on to a faint hope it would force him to accept responsibility. The results confirmed it unequivocally. It was his biological child. Anthony's reaction was not to leave his wife for Sarah. It was to immediately retain legal counsel and prepare for a contentious custody battle while offering the absolute minimum child support. His wife expelled him from their home regardless, but he is now aggressively fighting to prevent Sarah from obtaining any substantial financial settlement. Sarah is now facing the prospect of single motherhood with a part-time, modest-paying occupation, residing with her parents, and a baby's father who regards her as nothing more than a legal inconvenience. The most satisfying twist occurred approximately 6 weeks ago. I was at a local cafe situated near my office when I caught sight of her across the thoroughfare, clearly heavily pregnant now, struggling to manage bulky bags of groceries. For a brief instant, I perceived a faint sensation of something. Not pity, precisely, but a recognition of our shared history. Then I vividly recalled her standing in my living room, announcing the impending arrival of Anthony's baby and her immediate relocation to be with him. I finished my beverage and returned to my professional duties. Last week, Jessica attempted one final maneuver through my work colleague. She inquired if I would be inclined to assist Sarah for the sake of pastimes, perhaps contributing financially toward the infant's future expenses, given my former affection for her. My reply was uncomplicated. Sarah chose Anthony to be the biological father of her baby. These are Anthony's financial liabilities. The sense of entitlement is truly unrelenting. Even now, facing the entirety of the consequences stemming from her own deliberate actions, she and her family still harbor the belief that I should willingly clean up the considerable wreckage she created. As for my own life, it is flourishing. Truly magnificent. The residence is exclusively mine again. My personal finances are entirely under my control once more. I no longer need to fret about who my romantic partner is communicating with or worry about underwriting the expenses of someone else's secret liaison. I initiated a new relationship last month with Michelle, a 33-year-old architectural designer I encountered through mutual acquaintances. She is intelligent, self-sufficient, manages her own financial responsibilities, and has never once suggested she requires the services of a personal trainer. It is exhilarating to be involved with an individual who does not view me as a strategic financial portfolio. The retribution was neither complex nor theatrical. It was simply allowing Sarah to grapple with the organic, logical repercussions of her own chosen path. She desired Anthony and his baby. She obtained Anthony and his baby, along with all the attendant complications that came with them, a married man who exploited her, a legal custody conflict, single parenthood, and the utter collapse of the comfortable life she recklessly discarded. She wagered our relationship on Anthony being a superior alternative. She lost that wager, and the house, as they say, always prevails. Sometimes the most potent form of revenge is merely stepping aside and permitting people to orchestrate their own downfall. Thank you for reading, Internet community.